But we've always, no matter how big we get, we always are looking after the people, because at the end of the day, the customers are the brand. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a brand, we wouldn't have a business. So I am big on community. That is like the highlight of the whole Stax experience for me, is the fact that there are so many people behind it all. And we share everything with our community. We share everything from the initial designs to the fitting processes to the campaign BTS. So they're there for the whole journey.
Welcome to Female Founder World. I'm your host, Jasmine, and today's conversation is with Matilda Murray, co-owner of Stax. Matilda, welcome to the show. The first thing I love to do is to get all of the founders who come on to tell us about the projects that they're working on in their own words and let us know what stage the company's at, like some insights to let us know where you are in the founder story right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Hi, Jasmine. Thank you for having me. So I am the co-owner of Stax, which is a fitness fashion brand. We are in Sydney. And last week of lockdown, I was saying before, so I'm very excited.
So exciting.
So exciting. So we are a global company completely based online. And we are currently, I feel like the last couple of weeks, especially because the end of lockdown is in sight, we have jumped. We're so busy. We've got so many upcoming projects, so many collections to drop. We're currently working on a campaign or an event for Premium Seamless version 5, which is like our premium product, our best-selling, sells out in minutes. We had a live performance and a runway show last year for the launch of it. So we're trying to top it this year, obviously COVID safe. We're working on that. We've got, I think there's 4 collections coming up that we're currently organising campaigns for, as well as obviously the production of all the pieces and then the launch as well. So a couple of things on our plate right now.
And you have a little bit of a different story about how you came to be part of this business. I'd love for you to talk us through your background and how you came to be part of Stax.
Yeah, of course. So my partner and I own the business together, my fiance. So we started in Perth. Don started the business in 2015 and I was working in recruitment. So my background for 6 or 7 years was in recruitment. And Don worked next door in a supplement store to my office and he kind of side hustled Stax, sold some tights on the side, and I went into the supplement store to buy a protein bar, innocently enough. Ended up falling in love with Don and coming into the business. And I was very anti leaving my safe 9-to-5 corporate job. My parents are both in the education system. So that was a safe job. I wanted to go into a safe job myself. I had worked my way up quite well in the recruitment industry. So that was I was never passionate about it, but I feel like that was my career. That was a safe spot for me to stay. And I told Don right from the start, I won't be joining Stax. I don't want to sell tights for a living. That is not my vibe. Fast forward a few years later and I'm obsessed with selling tights for a living. So it's so funny how it all worked out. It's just taking opportunities as they come and saying yes and kind of finding yourself along the way.
What was it that made you decide to take that leap? What gave you the confidence to finally make that decision?
Yeah, so I started working full-time Stax and full-time recruitment pretty much. So it was before work, after work, all weekends, my lunch break, anytime my boss wasn't looking kind of thing. I would be doing Stax and I was just obsessed with it. And I never thought that I would be. I didn't think it would become something that I was so passionate about. But it ended up consuming me. We didn't have any free time because that's all we were doing. Eventually, Don left his job and went full-time Stax. And then we had specific targets that I had to meet or that the business had to meet, sales targets daily, in order for me to leave my full-time career. By that stage, I was a pretty crappy employee because my heart wasn't in it. I wasn't into recruitment. I just wanted to make Stax work. So it was all about spreadsheets. I'm not someone that would just be like, okay, so you don't like your job, quit and do your side hustle. You have to be able to pay the rent. You have to be able, I don't think anyone should be selling out of desperation. We had to make and reach certain targets consistently, not a one-off overnight success kind of thing. It had to be consistent sales in order to leave. And I only went full-time Stax I'm going to say a year and a bit ago now. So I moved to Sydney and I was still working in recruitment And yeah, about I think midway through 2020 is when I went full-time Stax. So oh yeah, coming up to two-year anniversary almost.
So what kind of like what stage was the business at, or like what did the collections look like then when you first joined versus how the company has evolved now? Like what are some of those differences and how has it changed?
When I first joined, we had my PR assistant, Beck, working with us, and John and myself. So it was a tiny team. Now we've got, I think, 27 employees that work in the space with us. And then we also have people all over the world that help us out too. So we've got photographers in New York that are doing a campaign shoot yesterday. So we've branched out in that sense. But it was definitely a lot smaller. The collections were a lot smaller simply because we were still growing. And we didn't have enough manpower at the time to create something, a collection so big or have the outreach that we do now. And yeah, I think we started very small. I look back at the warehouse space that we were in just 2 years ago. And that warehouse space is the same size as our current driveway for the delivery truck. Like I was looking at it on the weekend and it's insane. So we've moved warehouses. I think this is our fourth warehouse now in 2 years. We've outgrown it. That's amazing, but like that's a lot of work. It's an expensive activity to consistently kind of jump across different warehouses. But yeah, it's crazy. So the collections, everything we do has completely changed. It's just growing and learning along the way. But the past 2 years have been huge for us.
Okay, so for someone who is listening to the podcast, maybe they have an idea for something in like the apparel space. What are kind of the things that they need to consider when it comes to actually like developing and then producing an apparel product line? How do you do that when you're based in, let's say, Australia?
Yeah, of course. So the way that Don started, and he found suppliers, he went to a lot of trade markets, a lot of fabric stores. There's a lot of places, depending on where you want to get your product made, that you can go and you can meet the people that work at the factories and things like that. What I think people don't understand is they think that you can just buy one product from wherever and then resell it and it's perfect. Like it takes years and years to perfect a product. We have a product called our best black tights, and like I wholeheartedly promise you they're the best black tights you've ever worn, and we have trademarked that name.
I've heard all about these. I have heard about these. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. I'll get you a pair. So, they're honestly game changing, but it has taken us years and years to be confident enough to say that they're our best black tights because every single time you do something, you're constantly learning from it. So I think there's an illusion that people think that you can just buy a product and sell it and flip it. But you've got to make sure that product you're offering a point of difference, firstly. Like, why are you bringing that product into the market? And secondly, you've got to make sure you can sell the product, because if you go out and buy like high quantities of a certain product, but you haven't established your audience or anything like that yet, you're going to be sat with a lot of wastage and a lot of product that doesn't move. I think it kind of ties into not comparing yourself to another person's brand. So you just need to start small, and you get one product in, you work on selling that one product, and then you get two products in, you work on selling the two products. You don't have to look at us, for example, and say, oh, Matilda and John sell this much, so I have to do that. It's a completely different journey that everybody is on. Start small, move one product at a time. That will be my biggest advice.
That's a great piece of advice. So for you personally, like what's your area of focus or expertise in the business? Like what kind of stuff are you managing?
Yeah, so I head up the PR team. So I do all of like the influencer outreach. I manage the advertising. I book the models. I coordinate all of the photo shoots. A lot of PR. So PR is a massive job, and it's funny because when I was like at high school, I always thought PR was so glamorous and wanted to get into it. Left high school, I didn't finish school. I left school, did beauty therapy, and fell into recruitment and stayed there. And now I've like found myself as a business owner, but also heading up the PR team, which was like my dream back in the day. So I've kind of done a full circle and ended up getting there a little different way though. PR is fun. I love doing PR. I have a really great team. Yeah, a lot of outreach, a lot of like celebrity targeting, things like that, which is like, that's the best part of my job. One of the best parts is kind of spotting the celebs that are in our pieces and things. So it's really cool.
And Part of the growth for the company, like as far as what I can see as a someone sitting on the outside, is it looks like there's a lot going on social. Like you guys have a huge following, a really engaged following. Are you leading that as part of the PR efforts as well? Is that all under that umbrella?
Yeah, definitely. Excuse me. So we're so blessed with our audience and our community. And I think that's something we have nourished from like day dot. And that's something that John was very focused on when he started. So back in Perth, Don drove a little community of Stax wearers and they'd all wear the tights. So we started small and really focused on that community. And then it kind of got a little bit bigger and bigger through word of mouth. But we've always, no matter how big we get, we always are looking after the people. Because at the end of the day, the customers are the brand. If it wasn't for them, we wouldn't have a brand, we wouldn't have a business. So I am big on community. That is like the highlight of the whole Stax experience for me, is the fact that there are so many people behind it all. And we share everything with our community. We share everything from the initial designs to the fitting processes to the campaign BTS. So they're there for the whole journey. And I think that's something that people really love to see, because a lot of business owners, and we were like that at the start, to be honest, we're very like secretive. Like they'll just drop something and expect people to get on board and buy it. But people like to see all the ins and outs and feel like they're a part of something. And our community really is a part of what we create. I have a girl gang Facebook group as well, which are like our biggest hype girls. They are incredible. At the launch that I spoke about earlier, the PSV4 launch, we actually didn't use models for the campaign. We used our followers or our customers. They were featured in the campaign. They got to walk the runway and they were on stage with the Veronicas, so Australian artists here. So we love being able to look after our people like that. And someone said to me, this will always stick to me, is that what makes Stax different is that it's modeled by real people and worn by celebrities, not the other way around. I get goosebumps, like even saying that. Like I think that's so cool. And that's something I'm really proud of, because like I'm very passionate about our community and our followers and supporters. We're very grateful and we'll never take them for granted.
I want to dig into that Facebook group a little bit. That sounds really interesting. So you said it was called Girl Gang, and is that a like an influencer group? Is that your best customers? How do you manage that group, and how do you kind of like leverage the people in there?
Yeah, of course. So it's not an influencer group. There are some influencers in there, but it's just something that my best friend was like, why don't you create a group? And I was like, as if anyone's going to join my group. So anyway, created a group. We've got, I think there's about 5,000 girls in there now, and it's a very strong community of just friendship. So I post it on my Instagram, the link's in my bio, and you can click in there, answer a couple of questions, and you're in Girl Gang. And we discuss everything basically from stacks to sex to beauty to every single thing. And the reason I started it in the first place was because I have this community on Instagram where I can ask a question and I get bombarded with answers and I get bombarded with recommendations. And I wanted to make sure that my followers could also experience the same. They may not have the following or the people watching them or being able to respond. But if they ask the question in Girl Gang, they're then getting all of the kind of answers that I would get. And those answers really help me. So there's anonymous posting as well. So people can like privately post any of their dramas. Girls are giving advice, and it is not bitchy at all, which I'm like super proud of as well, because the girls in there have to answer a couple of questions, and you know, my community is full of really great girls, so there's no bitchiness, there's nothing like that. And then they're like our number one Stax hype girls too, which is an added bonus.
Oh, amazing. I also wanted to ask you about, as someone who's leading the PR side of things and is, obviously like super involved with this celebrity influencer gifting kind of space or like placement space. What does a seeding program look like for someone who hasn't done anything like that before? Like, how does a brand secure those like top level seeding placements? What's the strategy? How are you doing this?
Yeah, of course. So it's crazy because we've actually had celebrities DM us and say, I've just placed an order. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm not going to say names, but one of the people that did, I was like, is this a real account? Like, surely not. So like I went on and I looked them up and I was like, wow, okay. So we start that way. Once celebrities see their friends in it, because I think celebs have such credentials, especially with their friends, because they can literally wear whatever they want. Like they have complete choice over everything. So they can afford the most expensive, extravagant piece, or they can, pick a more affordable piece. So when celebrities' friends or the people they're around see them in something, they do trust it. And then stylists start reaching out and it goes on from there. So it's once you get like your first placement, which is like insane, it all kind of starts coming through that way, which is just crazy. But then there's a whole other world of it. Like J-Lo, for example, was spotted in our lilac set, which was incredible. But you can't just post the photo because it's a paparazzi photo. So you have to buy the rights to post the photo, and you can only post it for a certain amount of time. And there's all this stuff which like I had no idea about. We learned that on the spot, and thank God we did, because you can get sued for a lot of money if you just go ham. If you go ham and post whatever you want, whenever you want. So that kind of stuff comes with it. Like you get so excited about JLo wearing, but I'm like, I can't share it with anyone because I have to firstly go through the purchasing and then make sure that I can actually share it where I want to share it, and only one time. So, I mean, it's a good problem to have. I get that, but it's crazy. It's a crazy world that I had no idea about.
That's really interesting. Do you remember who your first like celebrity placement was?
Yes, Addison Rae. She did a whole TikTok, which is crazy because obviously she's so big on TikTok. We had no idea she was wearing the Royal Navy Best Back tight set, and she did an entire TikTok, and that was like, I was crying. That was a massive moment for us.
How did that come about?
Stylist again. So stylists got their hands on our stuff, and she went from there, which was, mind blowing. It, like I said, it's crazy. Yeah, it's crazy that people can choose whatever they want and they're choosing to wear Stax. So amazing. And I mean, we're so super affordable as well. I think that's what people don't realize or are pleasantly surprised by. They'll see celebrities wearing this stuff, jump online, $70 for a pair of tights. So
when you guys are thinking about new product launches or new collection launches, what kind of things are like moving the needle from a sales perspective? So you obviously have the gifting side of things or the influencer placement side of things. What else is part of your like marketing mix that kind of drives traction right now?
Marketing wise, so Facebook and things like that. Is that what you mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Are you guys doing like paid ads, or what else? What else is in there?
Yeah, so we do a lot of advertising. Yeah, on Facebook. I think you have to be across all the platforms: Facebook, TikTok, Instagram, Twitch is even coming up, which is like the gaming. So you really do have to make sure you are everywhere that your audience is.
Twitch,
yeah, there you go. You heard it here first.
Wow. Okay, cool. How are you using Twitch? That's so interesting.
We haven't yet. We're working on it. So, but that's it. You have to be open. You have to be constantly open to the new platforms. And I don't think you can ever be like, no, I'm not doing that. Like, I'm too old to learn how to do that. Like, I'm not going to do TikTok dances, but I mean, a lot of our girls are younger as well, and they'll be happy to do TikTok dances on our platform. So I think making sure you're across all platforms is super important, because not everybody is on Facebook, not everybody is on Instagram, and TikTok really is taking over. So I think that's something that maybe brands choose to ignore. If something's new territory, they don't want to learn, but you have to keep learning, otherwise you'll go stale.
And how are you guys like funding the business as you've been growing? Is it self-funded? Have you had external investment? What's that look like?
Self-funded 100%, which blows my mind, because when Don started the business, he was $80,000 in debt. Yeah, so it's insane to think that he's managed to pull himself out of that, and then we've managed to create this massive brand. So it's completely self-funded. We haven't taken on any investors or anything like that.
Awesome, good for you.
Yeah, just selling one piece at a time, like I said.
Yeah. And then the last question that I just ask everyone who comes on the show is to share a resource. So maybe it's a book or a podcast, community that you're part of, something that's kind of helped you upskill as the business has grown, and that you suggest other founders should listen to as well or read as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm going to say my favorite book is Atomic Habits by James Clear. And that, although not directly relating to business, if I'm being truthful, we don't read or listen to podcasts directly relating to business, because we like to kind of get our inspiration from all over the show, if that makes sense. We feel like we're really like pioneering the PR movement, pioneering a lot of the things that we do. So I loved getting inspo from different resources. So that is about personal development, but I think it's something that we can really like transfer into our business life as well. So the Atomic Habits is basically teaching people to create good daily habits that become a routine. And in turn building confidence with yourself. And I think obviously in business you need to be confident. So keeping promises to yourself, getting things done, not avoiding tasks, that kind of thing. That book is life-changing. And making your bed, it tells you to make your bed, which is a pain in the ass, but it does set you up for a good day.
Yeah, that's a great recommendation. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show, for all of your insights, and for being so forthcoming with how you've been growing Stax. It's awesome to see.
My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Jumping back in, guys, to say, first of all, thanks for tuning in. And if you enjoyed the episode, please don't forget to drop us a 5-star review wherever you listen to podcasts.